Every week, I never know when Kyle's going to drop that title card. Sometimes it's early, sometimes it isn't. Welcome.
Getting a little dancing.
This is the Grinding Gear Podcast. I'm Garrett. I'm extremely exhausted. Here with Kyle. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm punch drunk from last night's stream. That was awesome.
I'm outside of myself. I'm probably weirder today.
You and me both got some, missing some sleep. Got some dehydration from having ramen for lunch. Went to the dentist this week.
That'll happen.
That'll
happen.
Yeah.
Oh, the dentist. I really need to go to the dentist. I don't want to admit on air how long it's been since I've been to the dentist.
You should.
But it's bad. It's bad.
Good. It's all good.
It's bad. We want to keep talking about old man stuff. Pretty sure I need to see an optometrist.
Listen, I'm not going there. I'm not going. How you doing, man? How you doing? You had a crazy week. Welcome.
I'm just happy to be in a home with electricity because not everyone in my family is experiencing that right now. Not everybody in my family is experiencing that. I think my cousins who don't live that far away from me just got power back. They've been out for almost 48 hours.
Resident Florida man.
Yeah. Resident Florida man coming to you live from the scene of holy shit, we really dodged a bullet there because we got hit pretty hard by Hurricane Ian, but not nearly as hard as about 1 hour south. Your Fort Myers and your Naples. My goodness, if you're hearing this and you're down in there, thoughts are with you. If you're hearing this, I'm glad you're safe. But my God, dude, I can't look away. The news is it's nutty. You know how it is. You've been a Florida. You're a previous Florida man.
Of sorts.
You don't really worry about the hurricane when you live here. If you're outside of Florida, I see it. You're on Twitter. I get asked this time of year every year, Kyle. I get asked the same question. Why don't you just move? I get asked that this time of year every year.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I get it. But I honestly look at other states like you have things that I don't have warnings about, like forest fires and earthquakes and bears.
Mm-hmm. Life comes at you fast.
Yeah.
And
so
this
is like my third major hurricane I've been through. So yeah, we don't worry about it all that much. Unless you're on the water, that's when you really, really worry about it because you get that storm surge and everything. But we are nowhere near the water. We're not in a flood zone, so it's not something I particularly am concerned about. And I wanted you all to understand that. Understand the fact that we here in Florida, we're like, whatever. I'm going to get a Publix cake and hunker down.
You can't get in a state comparison contest because they all have something bad. Even if it's like perfect, it's boring. Your state is boring.
Even if it's like, guys, it's totally safe. It's like, yeah, but you live somewhere with snow, which like, hey, maybe you like the snow. And I'm not saying snow is objectively bad. I'm saying I have no interest in it. I don't want to deal with snow. I will take putting boards over my windows maybe once a year to not have to shovel snow multiple times every year.
Sure.
I will take it. I will have, everyone's got their preferences. I like my swamp. I like my swamp. So anywho, I want you to understand how much we usually don't care about storms. So that when I tell you this was legitimately the worst storm I've ever been through by a massive landslide victory. It was spooky. This is a spooky storm. Ian was no joke. Even us who got lucky, it turned at like the last minute, went a little bit more south, which was good for us. And there's always that like Florida guilt because what's good for you is bad for someone else in the state. You're like, oh, thank God. And then you start thinking about everyone you know and love. That's now in the path because it just happens. It happens. So yeah, it was a wild freaking storm. We got lucky. If you're listening to the podcast, maybe you don't watch a stream or whatever. Everything was pretty much cosmetic damage for our house. It'll be fine. It can wait. Doesn't need to be immediately repaired. Our roof wasn't damaged. Nothing broke. We're not missing windows. We didn't get any flooding. We're fine. We got extremely lucky. And I read every damn message that was sent in. A lot of folks wishing me well, telling me that Katie, me, and the dogs, especially the dogs, were in your thoughts. And thank you, Katie. I had a good time chilling on the couch and reading through those while we were hunkered down through the storm. So I appreciate everyone's thoughts and concerns. But we're okay. We're on the other side of it. But my God, Kyle, as lucky as we got, I'm tired. I'm done. This week is over. This week can kiss my butt. I want to play some video games. Tonight I want to find a pizza place that's open. I'm gonna have a beer, and I'm gonna find something to just melt my brain away, video game related, which honestly might be Wrath of the Lich King, because I don't need to think playing that game.
It's good brain melting.
Just wash,
yeah.
You just wash over me. I've done it before.
I often find myself playing games that I already know at night. Many times I'll peruse the Steam thinking, ooh, I could go for something new. But my biggest counter is always, I don't want to learn something new.
Exactly. I got to be in a specific mood for that. It's why I haven't gone back to Elden Ring. Because I'm in, there's someone, I keep mentioning my capstone as this thing that's hanging over my head. For the most part, it's going pretty well. Shout out to my capstone team. Y'all are awesome. Especially this week. They were like, don't worry about it, Garrett. Just send in your part. We'll put it all together. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. But it's still there, hanging over my head. And I blame that for me not beating Elden Ring. I blame my capstone. I blame school.
Elden Ring is a workout. You do not jump into day 30. You have to go back to day 1.
You don't. It's not so. I was playing it through my masters, and then I realized that I didn't feel relaxed when I was done playing. I was like kind of wound up, and so it's something I enjoyed quite a bit. One of the best games I've ever played. Not something I can have in my life while challenging myself in other ways.
Was Katie watching? You have an audience?
Yeah.
Okay,
she got
That's
really
good.
invested in the first week of play. Like the first boss I got into, first kind of pseudo difficult boss I got into. Yeah, she sat there for hours watching me die to this thing.
Jeremy or
Margit?
Margit
was a 3-day ordeal. Yeah. And yes, Katie watched the whole thing. No, I just found one of there's a reused cat model boss that you run into multiple times throughout some of the random dungeons. And so the earliest one you can run into, that was the first boss I stumbled across. And I think it took me 2 hours, 3 hours to beat that thing. Because it was my first time learning a boss in a FromSoft game. So yeah, she was just like, oh, this thing's so freaky and weird. And then I think she got into the puzzle of it because she started being like, oh, when he does this telegraph, that's going to be the big sweep attack and you should just get the frick away. And I think she enjoyed that part of it. I don't think she has any interest in actually playing it, but she picked up really cool. It was not the kind of we do this where we, backseat gaming kind of a thing.
Absolutely.
There are certain games we play through.
Yeah.
I wouldn't in a million years have pegged Elden Ring for being something that she would have been interested in watching. But she picked it up real quick. She was like, oh, it's like a Zelda. She loves Zelda. Yeah. She's like, oh yeah, I understand bosses and telegraphs and all that kind of stuff.
That's the stone cat, right? With the weird movement.
Yeah, I forget what it's always got. It's got the watchdog. Yeah.
Oh, wait,
it's actually a cat, but it's called a watchdog.
Oh, sure. The Royal Rat Authority was a rat, so yeah, it all makes sense.
I've personally run into it 3 times, and the third one I ran into was the first boss where I was like, I hate you, and I just left and gave up. I was because the third time I ran into it, it had a room full of gargoyle ads, and they just bum rush you. And it sucked. I had no fun on that one, but yeah, I got Margit. That was there was much rejoicing and high-fiving when Margit went down. Yeah,
I would love to co-op that with you, but oh man, the streaming energy of that game is rough.
You get the people that have very strong opinions about how those games should be played, how they think those games should be played. And if you don't play it the way that they want to play it, will let you know that they don't agree with the way that you're playing it.
Get accused of cheating all the time.
I'm not interested. I'm not interested in that experience. I do want to try. That seems like such an insane game to co-op because of the way aggro functions, like how the enemies focus. But yeah, I mean, just going through that first castle up to Margit, just the idea of being able to split up some of the easier to kill enemies that are, where there's multiples, that just sounds like so much fun. There's a courtyard section with a bunch of dudes. Being able to go out there with another guy and just start beating the crap out of him, that sounds so fun. That would be a blast. I'd be into that. You could talk me into that. You could talk me into that.
I'm down, man. I'm down. Hit me up. Well, after I do my own stuff, we all got our own stuff right now. got a kid on the horizon.
It's a 2023 idea.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a 2023 idea. Yeah. Well, I've been living under a rock, so I was hoping maybe you could take me through the wonderful land of video game news this week. I'll take your silence
is that,
as...
Is that not a bumper drop? Do it. Do it.
Good. Oh, great news, everyone. Shove it.
I was expecting like a let's go, or of course. Hey, Kyle, I heard World of Warcraft is still alive and making new expansions. World of Warcraft, in a bold move, is making a new expansion as opposed to an old expansion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, but they're staggered. They're staggering it. They're giving it some time. I wouldn't be too surprised if there's some overlap, right? Like, oh, my sub's still going from Wrath of the Lich King, so, I might as well buy the new expansion. Oh, that took me an extra month. Might as well get back into Wrath, and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And maybe each other will stagger enough to cover content droughts or whatever have you. Like, they've got a business plan, and I don't think it's bad. All right. I will preface this. I have talked to many people this week. I've talked to fellow grumps. I've talked to fellow hopefuls. I've been around because I don't want to have a bummer opinion. I don't want to enter your house and start hating on your game. I'm pretty removed from this now. So I wanted to gauge myself a little bit, kind of check the pulse of where the community's at. And they're pretty stoked. They're honestly like back to form, back to Azeroth. Hell yeah, let's go, everybody. This is apparently the expansion they've been waiting for. And congratulations, right? Like, you just went through a big hat eating in the last, well, it was over a year ago now, but you ate a very large hat. And I don't want to construct my own hat that I might have to eat.
The hat was actually cat ears, Kyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've tried to put away a lot of my biases. But oh man, they're big. Oh, I got some big biases when it comes to this entire trailer that they put up. The Dragonflight date announced trailer is now up. This cinematic trailer was fine. It was serviceable. It was too much of a repeat for so many trailers so far, particularly the May trailer from Overwatch. Like, so-and-so wakes up, they're alone, hope, climb the thing, press the button, can't do it in time, just in time. I've seen it. And then they stole the Thor thing. Like, I was just kind of like, okay.
Also, it was just like some stone dude that I don't care about.
Yeah, Stony Bro. In here they have Baby Walrus.
No, don't use that name. Don't use that name. They're like forcing meme names, which just annoyed the hell out of me during that whole...
They put the duck in the previous thing. They got this walrus baby eating a fish. Like, they're aware of what they're doing. Give me a plushie, everybody yells, and they make the plushie and they make money. It's a good business model. I do not. What do you think Alpha was and Omega, right? Like that was heinous. That was villainous marketing. They were slightly aware in game, and they made some nice jokes about it. But still, everyone's gonna do this. Why do you think Buzz Lightyear had a robot cat and Clash of the Titans had like a robot owl? C-3PO
came off.
Existed, but
I think they admitted that the Clash of the Titans robot owl was a direct like, hey, R2 worked well for Star Wars. Let's add this.
Exactly.
We're getting a little off the beaten path, though.
No, but it's marketing, right? Like this is marketing.
You started getting your biases, though, Kyle, and I don't think you are a person that chooses your game based on if you think the marketing was effective or not.
I'm appreciating it. When I criticize art, you and others are like, oh, artists work hard. Why can't we do that for the marketing people? Why can't they get a little, pat on the back and a little nice job with the baby walrus dude? Like, well done, make a plushie. That was a good call.
You know your audience.
Yeah, good job, everybody.
Done.
That's not fair to pick and choose. All employees should be appreciated. I hate this trailer though. It is horrible.
You're talking about the release date announcement trailer?
Yeah. Words fly at you. They got an audio machine song, literally audio machine. When you type epic music into YouTube and you listen to it while you work, it's a song from that. No big deal. It's fine. You fly
It's a
through
gameplay
places.
trailer. It's only 30 seconds. The flying does look very good.
The flying does look nice. I see all the skeletons. My usual problems with like, oh, look at, oh, here come the skeletons. You know, the dragon flying skeletons are nice, but let's watch 20 of the same model roar because they're different colors and it's a big deal. And I'm like, why not? Like maybe one dragon like Chromamu or whatever is like laying down and like he's got a hookah, and maybe like Alexstrasza is, you know, like lounging, like, you know, pose them a little bit.
Not everything can be from Soft and how much they customize things.
Let's get some world building in here, you know, like Bane.
Which, by the way, I fought the same dog cat 3 times in Elden Ring, and I'm not even halfway through the game.
Absolutely, and you know, some of that is just like amp up, right? Like, you know, you face the dog cat and then you face 5 of them later on, you're like, oh wow, I've improved in difficulty. Look this, I've got stats now that can handle this. But this is a trailer for those who are already excited to put the date out there that it exists, and the date flies at you at the very beginning,
right?
28th of November.
Yeah, to keep it firmly in marketing, this is for the already invested.
Yes.
This is for the people who would be excited about a date because they want to play it.
Exactly.
You're not going to win over naysayers by being like, but we've got a release date now. They're going to be like, I wasn't going to play it to begin with. I don't care that I now know a date when I can not play it. Like, you know, this is for the bought in.
Oh, and check out this zinger, this slam dunk at the end.
Events are unfolding that imperil us all. The threat is greater than you know, young ones. We must join forces and strike now. You balance upon the cusp of destiny. All that matters is this moment.
There's so much beauteous salt to dissect in there.
But no, there isn't. This is just word soup. That's the most generic words you could have chosen and thrown into an ad lib.
I want to go moment by moment.
I was more moved by Optimus Prime in those shitty Transformer movies.
All that matters is this moment. Like, just take everything you've done with your story and put it in the trash. And just
is this Dragonflight or High School Musical? I'm pretty sure I heard that quote in a High School Musical.
Probably. High schoolers love to believe this is the end all be all. There's Deep Thrall talking with other deep voice. Like, it's probably some dragon or something, you know, let's lie, we'll never face this threat again. Like, it is. Oh, it was tiring to watch. I was exhausted at the end.
It's generic. It's very generic.
Yeah, it does look pretty. You know, I like co-op gaming. The gameplay loop could be improved. I'm interested in talents. Talents are cool. I do like some customization in the leveling front. In here, it looks like they basically took every place that ever had dragons in the video game and put them all in one continent. Like, you literally have the Nexus from Wrath of the Lich King. You have fancier Dragon Blight Tower.
Yeah, there's a very Grizzly Hills looking zone, though, and there was no dragons in Grizzly Hills.
That is true. Should have been. You know, if I was a dragon, I would have moved there. It would have been nice.
We had enough dragons already in Wrath of the Lich King. I don't think we needed another zone with dragons.
Yeah. So it's on its way. And apparently, like, from the outside, it's very easy to say, oh, really? So soon? Like, this couldn't possibly be ready. The beta's great. Apparently, the beta is decently bug-free. People feel like this game does exist, that there is going to be content, that it's not going to release in some kind of broken state. So for those who are ready, on the 28th of November, they're going to have a video game.
Yeah, this doesn't seem soon at all to me. Like, someone who did play, who was pretty into Shadowlands at the very beginning, this feels like a lifetime since Shadowlands dropped.
I can see that. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it looks good. I like the way WoW looks. I really do. And I think this looks darn pretty from a WoW perspective.
Where you at on the dragon flying thing? Is that a big selling point to you? Is that enough of a selling point to you?
No. I think it looks cool. I'll give them that. But I haven't played the beta. I'm not in the beta. I don't really want to be in the beta. It seems like a cool addition. I just want I don't know. I don't know what I want. I think I just want Wrath of Lich King, which I have. So I'm gonna go play that. I I don't like the modern WoW loop. I don't like mythics, and those aren't going away. Like, I just want to do dungeons and raids, and I don't need all this extra stuff. All the extra stuff, like the dragon flying, I think is cool enough. Like that it is enough to move my hype meter. But I think the new race like looks lame. I think the new class looks lame. And this is me, my opinion. I'm not saying it's objectively bad. I don't care. I think they made the lamest looking dragons on Earth for the dragon race that you can play.
A little stringy.
Yeah, it looks like me. Like if I was a dragon, I don't look heroic. So yeah, it's weird. I think I've moved past being disappointed with WoW and that being the reason I'm not excited for Dragonflight to more like how I feel about the Walking Dead TV show, where it's like, it just never ends and it's always the same and I don't care anymore.
I feel that.
Even though it's a bad example because The Walking Dead is ending this year, but I also don't care how it ends. So I don't know. I could be convinced. You know, I want this to be yet another video that people bookmark when I'm back playing World of Warcraft, going, look at Garrett talking shit about the thing, and now he's playing it. Like, I know me. I will fall back into WoW eventually. Is this it? I don't know. Can you tell in the sound of my voice that I don't really have any hype for Dragonflight?
It's a weird time for hyping. I feel like we haven't made advancements that sell themselves. You know, we can't just flash fancy graphics and have you go, oh my goodness, I am in forever and a day. They put up a new D&D 1, which is D&D 6th edition video showcasing what they're doing with Unearthed Arcana and how they're like adding more feats and where they're going with the playtest and all this sort of things. It was just two people talking at each other about a PDF that you can download. And this was their big, like, pseudo, like, on Twitter, labeled as kind of like a hype announcement. Like, everybody get in here. Like, let's form D&D together. It was one of the most boring, undigestible videos I've ever watched that a company has ever put out. There was nothing of substance that you could, like, gleam at the end. You watched a TED Talk that kept changing subjects every sentence. It was horrible. But I think companies have reached a point where just raw numbers, they know they have this huge fan base, and they can just kind of put out, you know, whatever. It's just like, hey, this is what we're doing. Yeah. You're just talking to your family, talking to your friends.
I am sure at some point I will get in there. I'll probably get A-tuned to max level and see how I like it. Or if like we decide we want another thing to co-op together, I think this is just ripe. Like, I like co-oping MMOs with you, so I think I would have more fun, even if it's not a particularly good expansion, if we were playing it together. So that's like another thing that's kind of rattling around in the back of my head. But this is the first time a new expansion is coming out, and I'm just like, I'm fine. And like, I'm not mad. I know I sound like a downer, but it's because you asked me to describe how I feel, which is I don't care. And that sounds strong, but I don't mean it to. I'm just very indifferent. Like, it's like, whatever, go do your thing. It looks pretty. I hope it's good. I would love to love WoW again. But yeah, I don't know. To me, I look at it like this is weird because Star Wars is a 4-letter word to some people. But I look at it kind of the way I look at Star Wars or other long-running franchises where the fact that it's still, for the most part, the same leadership that's done the last few expansions is a big negative to me. And this isn't, I'm not being like, they should lose their jobs. It was so bad. No, whatever. They're fine. They're perfectly fine people. I'm ready for a new vision of World of Warcraft. I want someone new to swing for the fences, try something different. This doesn't look like they are. Like, adding a new type of flying, while cool, and I think it looks very well done, isn't upsetting the apple cart all that much. So, like, I was someone who was kind of over Lucas with Star Wars. So when he exited, I was like, cool, whatever happens, at least we're going to get something different. Of course, the very first thing we got was Abrams doing something very not different, but you know, at that point, it's kind of what we wanted for Star Wars. The prequels kind of got pretty far away from what we knew. And so to me, Force Awakens was a breath of fresh air. I'm not a raging Last Jedi fan, but I think there's some really cool stuff in that movie. It's like clearly a filmmaker's movie. It's just weird. Like, and I can't believe it got made. And so in that way, I have a weird amount of respect for a movie that I think the entire middle section could be cut out of. And then I really love what's happened with Star Wars TV because all these shows have different showrunners and they kind of put their stamp on it. Even Boba Fett, which I think a lot of people think is a little straightforward. Like I'm watching it like this is Robert Rodriguez's shit. I can see his DNA all over this show. And now it's happening again with Andor. They got Tony, is it Gilroy? Had it up open over. Yeah, Tony Gilroy. He was the guy who wrote Rogue One and he's doing Andor and it feels wholly unlike any other Star Wars show. And that's what I like. I start to get excited, whether it's good or bad. When something's so old and been around for so long, I get excited when it's like, whatever, let's just try something new. Let's swing for the fences. And whether it is a massive success or kind of a flop, let's just see what happens.
Yeah, no, I feel you. That's the whole reason I got invested in Final Fantasy XIV through A Realm Reborn was because I knew that there was Yoshi P being this visionary is too strong of a word, but at least being a creative director for it, now producer, everything else to it. But that one man you can put on camera, sit him down and be like, hey, what's this about? What's the vision? They can go, well, this is how I see it. And same with like Del Toro. Like, yeah, we're going to have big headdresses, lots of plating and loops and stuff and too many, long fingernails. But you go, that'd be an interesting take. Let's see what happens. I'm totally with you on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I try not to be overly precious. There are things I am super precious about, but I try not to be overly precious. I try to look at IP as a toy box. And it's like, all right, I've been in I've played in your version as a toy box long enough. Let's give the toy box to someone new. That's kind of how I feel. I think that's why I'm enjoying Rings of Power. Like every other week, I feel like I love it or hate it, but it's just like whatever. This doesn't feel like other Lord of the Rings things that I've consumed, and for that alone, I'm just kind of having a good time with it. Even though I would like last week, I was just kind of like, whatever, it's fine, I guess. Here, this week's episode's good. I haven't seen it yet, but last week's episode, I was just like, I'm so bored. But before that, I was like, oh, this is pretty good. And before that, I was like kind of bored, and I'm just on a roller coaster with that and House of Dragons, if I'm being honest. Both of there's two really high effort fantasy things going on right now. I'm sorry. I'm just I don't want to stop talking, so I'm putting in words that I don't necessarily mean.
Transition phrases, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, there's just two very high effort fantasy television shows on right now that I think overall I feel medium towards, but yeah, it's interesting.
That is kind of weird. Yeah, it is kind of weird when there is that much effort, right? Like that struck me about Rings of Power. Just look at that set dressing. Look at the costumes. What the hell is going on in the scene? What are we talking about? Yeah.
This was a great sword fight last week. It felt very swashbuckly. It was good and it was fun, but it didn't really progress the story all that much. Just seemed a little superfluous, but I had a good time. So I don't know. Media is weird right now. There's some stuff that's really hitting for me, and then there's some stuff where I'm like, I respect the effort. Is the nicest thing I can say about some of the stuff I'm steeped in at the moment.
Yeah,
and that's how I feel towards DragonFine. I'm like, I respect the effort. Those are some pretty zones. As someone who still likes the World of Warcraft art style, those are some gorgeous zones that at some point I look forward to flying through. But
it's a weird state of gaming and content in general, right? Like D&D is suffering from this too, a lack of vision. Who's in charge? Whose game am I playing? And there are hardcores for Dungeons and Dragons who will be like, how dare you ever home rule anything? The creators worked hard to create these rule sets, and you think you're better than trained professionals? Why would you ever half read the rules and have fun? I'm inserting that part to make my point. But I feel like there is so much home ruling in D&D because we don't know who our DM is right now, who's leading the ship, why we should care. I mean, Gary Gygax was a figure, and whether or not he had a very strange life and full of cocaine binges, he did, represent the dungeon.
I know nothing about this. The dude who made D&D was a cocaine fiend.
Oh, he was crazy. He went off to LA, tried to make a live action movie, ended up making that cartoon, divorced 3 times. It was, wow. There's a whole story. If you want to look up DM Gives Inspiration, I did an episode on Gary Gygax's history.
Okay.
The story behind.
Yeah, I was about to say it's something I do not care enough about to go that deep. But now that I know you did something on it, it sounds wonderful. Everyone should go listen to that.
I think I called it King of Dice because I did it right around the time of Tiger King. So I called the episode King of Dice.
Oh, it should have been the Dice King.
The Dice King or something. Yeah. Should have gone. I wasn't on YouTube. It was just a podcast, so I didn't have to optimize as much at the time.
Oh man.
But and Walt Disney, chain smoked. Like the second the camera turned off, he was just puffing away every single time. Like that was completely hidden from our own home lives and how we digest him as this Epcot visionary.
Daniel Radcliffe getting through those final Harry Potter movies with alcohol issues.
Sure. Well, also he's doing like a Weird Al movie. That looks kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, no, I love Daniel Radcliffe. But that's just like what I think of is like, because at the time you're just like, oh, he's like the poster child for like young dudes, like in a kid's story. Even though at the end Harry Potter is not a kid's story. That those books age up with the audience, like if you were the age as they were rolling out. But no, dude, I love Daniel Radcliffe's post Harry Potter career. Like he's done some awesome stuff. I love that he just seems to be just out there going after whatever sounds interesting. He refuses to be typecast, and I love it.
There's a lot of moving into position that all workers, certainly in American culture, are doing. And it's left things feeling a little hollow, right? Like you do a mobile game, but that's so you can throw it in the trash so you can get this job at another company, and then you jump there and you go to another thing. Like that's why I can't really invest in something like Multiverse right now, the Warner Brothers Super Smash Bros. Because I'm like, this is gonna be abandonware the second it goes bad. Like you got this epic roster, you're advertising that you got Mark Hamill playing the Joker coming up. That's cool and all, but your ecosystem, your settlement, is just gonna farm all the trees. You're gonna knock down all the trees all around. When all the trees are gone, the angry spirits will show up and they'll attack the village, and then we'll move villages, and then the kid rises to save the we know this story.
I'm pretty sure all you need to say is they'll Stadia it. You're afraid that they will Google this shit.
It was so bad when it launched. I'm not shocked. I don't think anybody's shocked that Stadia is going away.
No, because no one bought it, which is why it's going away, because no one trusts Google.
Yeah.
Which is just that to me, because like I was not invested in Stadia, and I don't feel I have any new dunks to add on to the pile of dunks that people have been sending Google's way with Stadia.
Kick them all down.
But Google has a reputation for killing their products. No one's going to trust them to stick with it. And so Stadia was like the self-fulfilling prophecy that no one bought it because they were afraid that Google would kill it. And since no one bought it, Google killed it. So it's like, what do you do with that? Like, I almost feel bad for Google, as much as you can feel bad for a multi-trillion-dollar mega conglomerate. Like, it's one of those times where I'm like, maybe the dunking isn't as like warranted, because it kind of just felt like I just have no idea how this could have succeeded looking at it now.
I just got a Wi-Fi router that reaches my kitchen. I don't want cloud gaming.
I'm not sure that's as related as you think it's related.
No, it is. It is. Like, cloud gaming is a sweet idea if Starlink is perfect. And like I can just like walk out my door and like picture it like a commercial, right? Like all the art's flying around me, and it's like a Photoshop commercial, right? Like some pink flies and whoosh, and like a bunny appears on the ground, little flower spout, and I'm walking down the street, I'm holding my little game device and I'm playing anywhere I want. And I stop on the steps of a building nearby, and everyone goes, "Whoa!" and then they explode in color, like ads do. That's a world where like I'm like, hell yeah, like I could totally get into cloud gaming. When I'm just sitting on my own home, I have a hard drive. I don't want your data exchange and whatever that does to my Verizon plan.
It's not a thing I feel passionately about, so I almost like I just want to be like, next topic. But there is there is a lot of positives to cloud gaming because the hardware expense of things that can actually run things locally is a massive barrier to entry for a lot of people. So in that way, cloud gaming could be a big force for good and accessibility of this medium that we love so much. However, Google was behind it. But there's not just Google. I mean, there's cloud gaming over on the Sony PlayStation right now. They have a cloud gaming service. Xbox is it's part of Game Pass, I believe. There's certain titles you can play via cloud. There's that whole new Steam Deck competitor from Logitech, I believe. This is off my memory. Do not quote me on this. I haven't looked into it. But I believe that's a cloud gaming device that works with the Microsoft stuff. So there's a lot of it out there. So this is the kind of thing I look at, kind of the way a lot of folks in our age bracket look at mobile games, where I'm like, I don't think it's for us. It's not for us. It's not for already bought in gamers that are sitting there with the $2,000 or soon to be $4,000 because of how much Nvidia is going to gouge our asses for the new cards. Machines. This is not for people who are sitting there with massive gaming computers. This is for people who can't afford it, or maybe don't want to get into that. It is a way to attempt to try and bridge the gap between the accessible pricing of consoles, but the wider library that you get with things like PC gaming.
I get it. They also apparently paid horribly for putting a game on your machine. So.
Oh God, yes, yeah. It was the licensing hell too. Also, do you have there's a part of my brain that just goes, and again, not defending Google, but is there any worse bargaining chip to stand on than to show up to a meeting that you're hoping to, not spend as much money as you possibly could, but everyone knows you're Google, literally Google. You have literally all the money.
Yeah.
We want to break in and disrupt the gaming industry, but we have nothing that currently exists. And the people you're talking to knows you have nothing that currently exists, but they also know that you have all the money. Yeah. Why should anyone give Google a deal on their game licenses?
Well, you got Walmart rolling back prices all over the place. I mean, they have been absolutely cutthroat with the way they do business and who they keep and who they toss aside.
Yeah, but they already have the infrastructure. Those stores already exist. Nobody had a Stadia already just chilling in there. It doesn't have the widespread appeal that Google's search engine does. Everyone already uses that. It's an infrastructure that's already there. It's different to get an actual physical object into the hands of people so that you have a wide enough audience that you can actually make those kind of moves.
I use DuckDuckGo.
Well, even more so. There you go. Kyle doesn't want to be tracked while he's looking at, I don't know, whatever it is you're looking at.
No, when I search for something, I want Wikipedia to be in the top 3 entries because I'm looking for information, not ads.
I always do medical searches through that because I'm actually one of those people that's paranoid that if I Google anything medical on Google, it's my insurance rate's going to go up. Because it
works on airlines.
My toe the other day. Oh yeah, dude, yeah. Every time I search for airfare, I use a VPN. 100%. Any VPN sponsors out there interested in sponsoring the show? This would be a lovely organic place to put a VPN ad.
Exactly.
Just saying. Yeah, I got nothing else on Stadia. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
We're dunking on it. Yeah.
Please don't delete
FeedBurner,
FeedBurner, Google. Please don't delete FeedBurner.
It's all done good for fun. And, our next big news bit for the week is the era of $70 games begins this fall.
This is according to Kotaku?
As well as other sources. I mean, this is just straight up what these games are going to cost come fall.
Isn't this
and winter.
what games have cost since the dawn of the PS5? This is the reason I haven't played that Dark Souls remake, because I went to Best Buy. I was like, oh, it looks really pretty. It looks really cool, because I saw it somewhere. And then, I was out getting pet food, and next door to our Petco is Best Buy. This is way too much information. Went in and I was like, oh, man, I'll just buy Dark Souls, the remake. It looked really cool. It's $70 freaking dollars. Or Demon Souls.
Yeah,
Demon Souls is the remake that's on PS5.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, it's $70. This was over a year ago. This is just it. People in chat say the age of piracy is on the horizon. I think there's some truth there. This is a hard one because like I don't want to pay 70, but also I am in the camp of I think we don't pay enough for games. Games are expensive to make. And seeing well everything we've learned over the past half decade of how the gaming industry treats its employees. But there's also the cynical part of my brain where it's like how much of that money is really going to the employees and not just like lining people like Bobby Kotick's pocket.
That's the problem with this initial announcement. When we see the titles that are coming out at the $70 game price, it's Activision, Warner Brother Games, they're all the big conglomerates. EA, they're getting behind this first. It's not your. I mean, I guess you could maybe find an indie game that's $60. Can't really think of one off the top of my head. I agree with you on Demon Souls.
No,
that should have been like 49.
Like 50.
Yeah.
Like $50.
Yeah.
Like because it's a remake. Even though it was a high effort remake. That game is gorgeous. Have you seen the Demon Souls remake?
No, it's pretty. It's a shit game, to be perfectly honest. Like, I have banged my head against that wall. It was an excellent prototype for Dark Souls, but it is a miserable experience. There are bosses in there that are just not fun or require such exact knowledge to defeat that you can't really blind it in an enjoyable way. And I'm talking about like, the random priestess you find down in a hole somewhere that just smites you.
Okay.
Most of the like formal bosses walk in the room, ba 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 ba, music starts playing, the name comes up. Most of those are pretty like, okay, yeah, you kind of learn, up your poison resist, and make sure you have a slashing weapon and something with some range on it. Like you can brute force through most of it, but there's occasionally just some tomfoolery around a corner that is just impenetrable.
Yeah, so this is one of those stories I was under a rock for this week. I didn't know that this was a conversation being had around the digital water cooler of the rise of the $7 game, to which my reaction right now is we're already there. Why are we talking about this? And also, in some cases, we're not already there. Games that used to cost money, like Overwatch, don't anymore. They're free to play.
Yes, we'll see what happens there.
As long as you don't care about getting all of the heroes quickly.
We've got some Overwatch news coming up here. I mean, there's games, of course, I'm willing to pay $70 for. Like, I'm going to give it maybe like half a week. I'm really excited for Callisto Protocol. That is my jam. That is my violent Dead Space horror adventure business. And I am more than willing to throw down for that. I thought the trailer for Dead Island 2 was fantastic. I didn't really like Dead Island 1, but it looks like it kind of has like, you're kind of infected too, so why not live it up? And they're kind of embracing like more of the fun. Like, what was the one that took place in the mall? That
was Dead Rising. That was the very first Dead Rising for the Xbox 360.
Yeah, Dead Rising was fun. That reminded me a lot of State of Emergency, which was a Rockstar game that I don't think many people played.
No, I remember that though. That was the last thing that I remember ever playing at a kiosk at Babbage's before Babbage's closed for good. Was State of Emergency. The Dead Island, that's just like we're almost 10 years away from the first trailer for Dead Island 2.
The first trailer? No.
The first trailer for Dead Island 2 debuted in 2014 with the guy that was jogging and turning into a zombie.
Oh, wow. They put out a new one just a short while ago.
I am aware. Yeah. And I just look at it the same way I do Skull and Bones. Like, there's no way you're going to be good if you've been into development for this long.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that. I thought it was a great
movie. It's going to be $70, huh? Yeah. Have we seen gameplay yet?
We saw some like heads explode, I believe. I'm with you on Skull and Bones after doing a little bit of more reading into that. And same kind of with Hogwarts Legacy. I don't really think there's going to be that much content. I got to see how they do like class and I mean like actual like school sit down in your chair like class. Because that's the whole part I enjoyed the most was like doing the castle and being a student. If I'm just running around in dungeons fighting zombies the whole time, I can do that in many games. And I've got other places to look forward to that sort of gameplay.
I never really wanted to play a Harry Potter game, and now I just look at Hogwarts Legacy as I feel sorry for the team because J.K. Rowling just can't stop pissing everyone off.
They're doing a lot to counteract that and make it their own. we'll see when it releases, right? If they're able to, escape trappings and whatever else is going on. What's Forspoken's the meme one with the tennis shoes and the flips and the
Yes,
so
that's
I got trapped.
Forspoken. Yes,
Yeah.
the one that got memed. I guess this is my life now. All that kind of stuff. That was Forspoken.
I found a brand new anime last night. I think you would enjoy hearing about.
Oh, is it a name that sounds like you just put words in a bowl, mush them around, and that was your title?
Hell yeah, man. I actually only know the Japanese title for it. Let me see what it's called. Parallel World Pharmacy was the name of this show. I accidentally fell asleep and I woke up as a white-haired little anime boy in a rich family in the medieval times that had magic, and I brought all my pharmaceutical knowledge with me, and now I cure tuberculosis.
Yeah, I could actually be into that.
It has a
Sounds a little Army of Darkness.
It's got a little puzzle to it, right? Like, I like when you
Yeah.
learn just a little tiny something about something. Like, I feel like Game of Thrones could really benefit from this. They're like, ding, ding, like banging on the sword. And they're like, we forged this with the right types of metals. And like, tell me something. Look, inform me. I know it's all fantasy. And like when, Celebrimbor is probably making a ring or whatever, like, it'll just be magic and stuff. But, it just inform me a little bit. So the kid, he's like, oh, I got to mix H2O and the molecules to make acetaminophen. And, you learn a little bit about magic medicine. You learn what's in acetaminophen.
Go figure. What does this have to do with Forspoken?
Oh, so I'm trapped in another world
titles?
and my shoes glow and now I have to fight monsters. Like,
Gotcha.
it seems
Fair.
like it's going to be an isekai.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, Ragnarok's the only game on this list that I'm down to spend $70 on. Gotham Knights I do want to play, but I ain't spending $70 on that. That's from the B team of Arkham Asylum games. I will wait.
Did you see the Wild Heart stuff?
Wild Heart?
Yeah.
No.
So this
Never
is
heard
an
of this.
EA game. They're trying to make their own Monster Hunter by the look of it.
Oh boy.
And it's interesting. Like when it starts up, you're like, okay, maybe some lock-on targeting. I'm gonna roll around. There's gonna be some vistas. There's gonna be big creatures. Ice wolf, angry. What's got antlers? Elks, angry ice elks.
A lot of things have antlers.
Fire boars. It's got
Ears,
the
moose.
usuals, the usual big monsters. They didn't show a dragon, at least that I'm aware of. But wolves, boars, elks. Like it's doing the thing. And you're like, okay, sure, let's see what you can do, EA. But then they went and kind of threw a big wrench in it and said, and what if we let you have trap towers? And you're like, whoa, dude. Fortnite just got rid of building. Like, am I going to have flat ground? Is there going to be prescribed places I put my trap towers?
Now, a more survival game leaning Monster Hunter could be really freaking cool.
If
like,
you're
with like a more of a Valheim build situation.
sure. It could be. I don't see that from the outside because they're very magical in that sense. It almost reminds me of that Orcs Must Die game because like these things sort of and build together real fast and then unleash their attack and almost kind of deconstruct after that. So they're more like spells than actual strategy implements.
Gotcha. Well, like Monster Hunter World is still really high on my list of things I am just looking for in excess of hours to sink into. So like with that in mind, like I don't think there's any world where I played this before I played Monster Hunter.
Could be with community excitement. Like Monster Hunter's a very figured out thing, and if this releases, everyone's stoked on it. Like there's much like I talked about the Dark Souls community. Like I assume if you got on stream and just started playing Monster Hunter completely lost, it could be frustrating for people because it's simply so figured out.
Every time I say I will or will not play this, it is under a known banner. It was like if all my friends are losing their shit over this, I'm gonna get in there.
Absolutely.
But yeah, left to my own devices, I would much more likely go play Monster Hunter instead.
This is where you kind of get into like bold of you, EA. You require more money to make your game. This is one of the titles I look at. I'm like, okay, we don't even know what this is, and you're saying $70. Like, let's announce our known projects first, like God of War, because absolutely, God of War is more like an interactive movie in that regard, and you feel like you get what you paid for because you spent, I spent what, a month on the couch at night playing alongside Kristen. Like that was just what we watched. And movies have such an amazing amount of money they are possible to make. You hear like Diablo Immortal, slam dunk, making $20 million, and you're like, but that's like half a movie's worth. Why are we celebrating this? This is getting weird, everybody. Why not just make a movie?
Because game.
This game was fun. Yeah.
Because game fun.
Could be fun.
Because game. Also, aren't they working on a God of War show? I believe.
Are they?
I believe they're working on a God of War show.
Oh, that oof. Like I said, I do like where The Last of Us is kind of heading. It's different. You know, the casting's great. Maybe God of War is just so. I'd probably say the same. Actually, I don't know. I'd probably say the same thing about Last of Us. Like, oh no, those characters are so defined. You got to have Joel on the guitar, and he's got to look like this, and you got to have Ellie, and she's got to look like this. And then you come out with Trey. I'm like, oh sweet, you did something different. I look at God of War with a bit more fandom and years, and I go, you can't just, make something up. What are you doing? But yeah, they could, and maybe it'd be awesome. Maybe I'd actually really like it. Are they doing God of War, like the new God of War? Because of course, it's God of War 2018.
Not. Everybody now, now Kratos in the zeitgeist has a beard. Like that's the Kratos. That's the famous Kratos now.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that. Nobody wants. I listen to Godsmack Kratos. Nobody wants that version.
I do.
Okay.
No
one else does.
I would love like pre Ghost of Spartan Kratos. I'd watch that. That'd be a good movie. Show. TV thing. He's like holding his first daughter and he's like, oh. That's the extent of, the emotion. Oh. But
that's it.
I would watch the hell out of that.
I got a bit of a Kratos vibe in a weird way from the villain in the new Thor movie, which the new Thor movie is an uneven mess. But Christian Bale acts the shit out of that role playing the villain.
Oh, is that like the surprise cast? I didn't know he was in that.
He's he's on the poster in the trailer and all that. It's him. He's the white skin with like the body paint tattoo stuff. He's the God Killer.
This was Blood and Thunder. That's World
Love
Warcraft.
and Thunder.
No, that's
Love and Thunder.
Love and Thunder. Love and Thunder.
Yeah, it's not. Listen, it's not a. I wouldn't say it's a good movie. It's a fun ride. I think it's worth watching. Love and Thunder. It was a good enough time. Yes, Atheist Bale. Yeah. It's so weird. It's very strange. If you end up watching it, I'd love to talk to you about Love and Thunder. It's a strange movie because after Ragnarok, Love and Thunder feels like Taika with studio notes, which is weird because Ragnarok seemed like they let him do his thing, but this one it doesn't. It feels like he was at odds. It's very weird. It's very strange. I don't know where it went off the rails, but there's still parts of it I really like. And Christian Bale's one of the cooler villains we've had, I think. So anyway, reminded me of Kratos in a strange way. But yeah, what did you want to talk about Overwatch 2? It's coming out. Yay.
Oh, October.
Like Overwatch.
Yep, October 4th. Mainly that this is almost a counter argument I'm going to have.
I feel like you've been able to play it so long, and also it's not the full game that's releasing, that having a release date seems weird.
What I saw in the communities and whatnot was a lot of anger. And of course, Blizzard wants our cell phones is going to record us and all this sort of thing. Don't you have phones in order to register your Overwatch 2 copy? But after following Heroes of the Storm, like, people begged for this. So if anything, that's the news for me.
For what?
Text message verification and tying a cell phone to your game so you get rid of Smurf accounts. And voice recording to cut down on toxicity. People begged for this for a very, very long time. And now it's here for Overwatch 2.
Oh. None of it matters unless they actually enforce some shit.
The cell phone thing does help. Like, there's always people that say, oh, you can just go get, a throwaway phone or what have you. But it does help Dota a lot. You get rid of some of its Smurf issues. There's still tons of issues, of course. Any game is going to be exploited. People exploit solo games. It's what you do. You verse the game. And if you're young enough and angsty enough, like, you go a little further sometimes. If for the voice recording thing, though, they're going to take everything said in their voice chat and convert it into text and then analyze the text and put bans out in that regard. So they're using some new technology, which has gotten some people concerned about security. And I was curious on your thought on this, because for me, this is a Disney World kind of thing. When you go into Disney World, you don't yell the F word because you're in Disney World and they kick you out. So you follow the rules and, you know, you're being monitored by employees rather than, you know, super robots and, you know, this is more dystopian kind of level ideas. But still, you're in Disney World. It's Blizzard's game. And if they don't want you yelling the F word, then they have that right.
That's usually where I err on the side of, yeah. Like, I don't know. I cuss a lot with my friends. I never speak a word to strangers in games.
Well, they're not going to, like, say, link your Discord so we can hear your private Discord conversation.
Right. That, it's like, yeah, insert fart noises from my mouth. That's how I feel about this.
Unmoved, uninterested.
I don't care. Like, why? Like, it's do we like, I don't want them to have our data. Cool. Do you not use the internet?
Yeah.
Like, cool stance. Like, just then don't play. Like don't use Google. Go use DuckDuckGo like a freak, like Kyle. You have options. They're gonna do what they're gonna do. Like, I don't know. This is hard for me to muster up outrage about, because it's a game that I think is inherently flawed. I don't know why someone would want to play Overwatch 2, so I'm surprised people are mad about requirements to play Overwatch 2.
They also put out some news this week that if you never played Overwatch 1, you're going to have to unlock the heroes in a rather slow battle passy way in order to get the old heroes for your Overwatch 2 game.
Yeah.
And that's got some people upset. I just included this in this week's notes as almost like a counterpoint to my own WoW distrust. Because here I'm just like, I saw years, literally hard years of following Heroes of the Storm, wanting this exact thing. And they're giving it to Overwatch, which I'm not salty about. You know, that's your golden goose, you know, that's where your energy is. I get it. More so that this is just what people have wanted for a very, very long time. And they're supplying the need.
To walk backwards and slowly unlock shit that you used to just get.
No, to have a cell phone that you have to put in, and you can only have one cell phone per account, and doing the voice audio transcript thing.
I mean, I don't love Smurfs, so I do lean on, like, I don't love Smurfs, and I just kind of give myself over to our internet overlords and just assume they know everything about me. So I don't personally, like, I would I guess lean towards this. It's just about a game that I think sucks. Is the problem. Like, it's to me, everything about Overwatch is just like finding it so fascinating that they seem to be just corrupting it into this free-to-play hellhole. From me looking on the outside in, like, it already looks barely like a new game, and then they're just adding all this other stuff. So I don't know. The discussion I want to have is that, like, Overwatch 2 doesn't look like it needs a 2 after the name. It looks like an update to Overwatch 1. It's not releasing with the PvE that they promised. It's strange. I don't know. The people that are still excited are gonna play it. Like, overall, to me it looks like Blizzard getting away with stuff again. And I'm not talking about the SMS authentication, a lot of whatever. Like, that's whatever. I'm talking about the game as a whole. Like, it just looks so weird and so compromised to me.
It's interesting too that it had a Smurf problem with the box copy version of the game, which makes sense if going free to play means you have to up those protections. But it still happened. Like, people were willing to throw down $40 in order to participate again in Overwatch with a different account.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. Locking heroes behind the battle pass is weird, man. I like battle passes, but, like, it's over. It's like MOBA adjacent with how important the heroes are, and having access to those heroes. It's important in this game, and it's important to the balance of the game. So to lock them behind something like a progression system is odd, and it's part of the reason I fell off of that Marvel card game from the OG Hearthstone team.
Snap.
It's like there was no way to get the cards other than to just slowly unlock them through you got every card in order along the level up portion of the game, which got away from loot boxes. I get that, but it kind of forced you into paying other ways. So games are weird right now, and yeah, I just look at Overwatch 2 and see what they've done with Hearthstone with forcing that game into fake currency and locking down battlegrounds heroes behind something that you now have to buy that used to be free, and they're relatively minor in the grand scheme of things, but to me it just looks like Blizzard keeps getting away with stuff that I feel like they shouldn't and other companies wouldn't get away with. And so I look at Overwatch 2 as just another example of that, because I think the diehards, they're not going to care. They're going to play the game, and it's going to be successful enough that Blizzard's going to keep making decisions like that. I could be wrong. I hope there's a pushback on this, the likes of which we saw with, what was it, Star Wars Battlefront, the second one that EA put out.
I remember that.
Because that's how I look at that. I think this game looks like a hellhole to me. But yeah, now you got it out of me, Kyle. There's my tirade for the day. Blizzard keeps getting away with horrible practices, and I'm waiting for one of the communities to actually do something about it. Because there was a lot of hubbub in Hearthstone when they were like rune stones, and you gotta pay if you want all 4 heroes in battlegrounds, and no one cares. They're still retweeting tournaments. They're still buying it. They're still playing the game.
Yeah, I think to an extent now with Here's the Storm too, there's an energy of you'll get the axe, like it, or you're gone. So there's probably a lot of people who are like, well, I'd rather have it than not, and they accept the system they're in.
Yeah. It's weird because it's still like I'm still excited for Diablo 4. Now I'm like looking at it like, all right, what are you not being truthful about with Diablo 4? Because everything you've said so far, I'm fine with. We've got a battle pass and everything's cosmetic on it. I'm like, cool, don't care. Let's go. Let's play some Diablo 4. But I feel like it's going to launch and it's going to be like, actually, best in slot weapons are on the battle pass. And I'm going to be like, oh my God, here we go again.
That's not really my concern at all with Diablo 4. I think Diablo 4 is going to, for me, live and die on its atmosphere because it's a Dark Souls-like product that I want to beat once on a proper difficulty and enjoy my journey and be done and put you away until expansion time. And that's why I'm fearful about the color palette. You know, many people, there was the whole Diablo 3. Oh, it's too dark, brighten it up. Oh, it looks like unicorns. We hate it. Kind of thing that happened. Which is fine, but it means there's more visual diversity that can happen in your different zones. Looking at the footage I've seen of Diablo 4, I go, wow, that looks dark. That looks awesome. That looks so moody. What's the story? And, when I think about Blizzard, I go, oh, I don't know if you can tell a story right now that will satisfy that
thank
need.
God I've never cared about Diablo's story.
Diablo 2. You get.
I didn't play Diablo 2. I didn't play it. Didn't have a computer.
I think you actually bought the remaster because you thought I was going to buy it, and I got busy, and I didn't buy it. So.
No, I did not buy it. I did not buy it.
Okay.
Because I did think you were going to buy it, but I know if you don't actually buy it, I don't have confirmation that you're not buying it.
Yeah, I still have a copy of Warcraft 3 Reforged on my Battle.net, so.
Yeah, I've learned my lesson.
Yeah. We are going to do Monster Hunter someday. Like that purchase that you made, I will make good on because I really want to play that too. I want to make my cat cook or something, and I'm going to eat the food and fight some monsters.
Yeah.
Possibly with double daggers because it's easier.
Yeah. Well, we went a different route, everybody. We did not lock anything behind a battle pass that we're going to force you to pay for. But if you would like to send some money our way for our trouble, we've got a lovely website for you. It's called supportourbromance.com. It'll send you right to our Patreon. So if you like our podcast, if you like our YouTube videos, if you like our streams, I don't know, maybe I ran into you at Disney and you just enjoyed the conversation and you're like, well, I'd like to throw $1 that dude's way. Head on over to supportourbromance.com, where you can support everything that Kyle and I do together. That is our joint Patreon. It just literally just forwards to Patreon. I'm not sending you somewhere nefarious. It'll take you to patreon.com/Garrett and Kyle. I just thought the URL was cute. So go there, get access to our ad-free version of the podcast feed. You get a custom feed just for you. You can plug into your podcatcher of choice. You can get the show just like normal, but it won't have this in it. You won't hear it. Also, thank you the week you sign up, unless, of course, you're at that legendary level, and then we'll thank you each and every darn week, because thank you so much for that generous support. And some other stuff like bonus casts. And soon, when there's not literally the worst natural disaster I've ever been through, Kyle and I are going to do a spoiler cast for Cyberpunk 2077 Edge Runners. Looking forward to doing it. I really want to talk to you about that. It's just, oh my God, this week has been insane.
Oh, totally. Yeah, we planned it, but
yeah,
delayed to the moment.
It has been crazy. But anyways, thank you for the support, everybody. Check it out. Supportourbromance.com, or you'll have to unlock both of us eventually through a battle pass. So I don't know how that would work. You'll get a solo cast with just me and then Kyle, and we'll complete it, and there it is.
Yeah, we got the split audio, so we'll upload yours, but you have to pay to get what I'm saying.
Yep. You want to take a quick break?
Absolutely.
Right. Do you want to do? Let's talk Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
It's time to ask you, Kyle, what's your Final Fantasy? What's your Final Fantasy, Kyle?
Well, my Final Fantasy this week was taking the extreme version of Step on Me and all the way to the end. All the way to the end. We completed our third extreme ever last night. If you're unfamiliar with Final Fantasy 14, there are single bosses in what they call a trial. Think of it like a raid boss, but you go and you just fight one boss. That's it. There's no trash and no nothing else. You go do that. That's a trial. They have different difficulty levels. The second difficulty level up is called an extreme. It's a significant uptick in difficulty from the normal version. And on top of that, Final Fantasy 14 lets you customize how difficult it is by letting you turn on other modifiers that make it more similar to the difficulty of when it originally came out, and like not letting you just outgear it like crazy or over level it like crazy. And so that's what we did. We did min eye level, we did no echo, and that 4-star eye level to the cap of when of this fight at the level it's supposed to be. And also didn't give us a buff every time we died that eventually made it easier, which that's what echo is. So this fight broke me. I mentally shut down at a certain point, and this fight was hard. Yeah, it was backloaded, was definitely a way to put it. There was a ad phase that came at 78%, which, as a gameplay decision, I'm kind of like, like, break the mold from time to time. Got to break the mold, break the rules. I get you, game designer. But 50% is when ad phase happens, please. Let's get a little deeper into this.
We'll get into it more other places, I'm sure. But the ad phase is definitely my least favorite part of this fight, because it's very straightforward and doesn't play into the rest of the fight. If that makes any sense, it's kind of just its own thing and just feels like it's a hurdle you got to jump over every time. But I wasn't mad that it was backloaded. It just made it difficult, like more difficult to learn, because all of the stuff that was execute or die was in the last portion of the fight. Yeah. And everything before them was roughly easy enough to get. It's weird because when I say the last portion of the fight, that's still like the back half of the fight. But it's so much gets piled on so quickly that it comes at you fast. And I'm struggling to I'm struggling to think. I don't think I've found anything this hard since I was raiding 4 nights a week in Wrath of Lich King. I think it's like Sindragosa back in ICC was probably the last time I found something this hard.
I can't think of anything that was this individualized that I've done in an MMO. Like that one person could kill everybody. And that everybody had to do that thing multiple times. Like I've certainly done raids in World of Warcraft or any sort of co-op game where one person might be chosen randomly and they could mess things up. But this was the endurance test and the skill check of just now do it again and again and again to the end. And everybody has to participate in it. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, there's like a drop-off mechanic where 3 people are marked and you drop an item on the field and that item eventually explodes, but it leaves behind it a zone that is very integral to a fight mechanic. And so the positioning of these things are really important, not just because the explosion can kill you, but because then you need to be able to get to where it just exploded. And it was like truly ran like a tank had to worry about it, a damage had to worry about it, and a healer had to worry about it. And you could kind of game who it went on, at least for the tank. But oh boy, everyone had to do their part. Everyone got marked at the same time. You got to run, and it's like you got to go the max distance. You had to get on the like as far away as you possibly can, and it was a scorcher. I felt jubilant when we downed this boss last night.
I have never had so much fun doing our blind business. I love the forensics that has developed over the course of us doing 3 of these. So our first one, Shinryu, was hard. And we pretty much kept to just the information we were receiving during gameplay. During our second one, 2 weeks ago, would have been Thordan. I started pulling up the stream and watching the VOD back and seeing kind of what killed us. This time I was doing that every death. And I just loved it. I'm spoiled, like absolutely, like streamer privilege, whatever. Like, oh my god, like this is how I just love to play games. Roguelite, restart it again, learn a bit more, go a little further. Dark Souls, and I get to do that inside an MMO. I'm loving it, and I love the discoveries we were making with the meteorite rocks coming down and putting them in the moon zones, and then those would explode, and arguing with you about whether or not a moon zone left over was a good moon zone or a bad moon zone. It was so much fun.
I couldn't even see the moon zones of the dark zones were on a dark moon. I was like, what are you even talking about? I thought that was just somebody's ground effect.
Yeah.
Like, couldn't even, it was a lot to digest. And these extremes, these are really what have like made me absolutely love this game. Like, the fact that this old challenging content is still like you can still go and have a challenging experience. I realized that the fights they're not 1-to-1 exactly like they were upon release, but this was still hard as butts. It still took us 4 hours to do this one boss?
Yeah, what was our final stat? I think chat just posted it earlier. Let me see if I can find it. Completion time 4 hours 10 minutes.
Yeah, like I'm just having so much fun with this. And like you can watch through, there's moments where I get frustrated, but it's part of the experience. You got to have that frustration. Like you got to have those moments where you're just like, can I do it? What am I doing wrong? How can I improve? You need to have those moments so that the success feels good. So these extremes, man, I'm loving them.
It was a proper challenge.
Yeah, it's especially because we're getting back in the MSQ we're going back to on Monday. Final Fantasy XIV's story is so deep and so rich, but also lacks a lot of gameplay. Like you're watching and reading a lot. The gameplay is few and far between through the main quests. And so it's easy to forget at times. It's like, oh yeah, I'm playing an MMO. And then when we go do these difficult extremes, it really shows what an absolute high pedigree of MMO Final Fantasy XIV is, because these are some top-notch boss fights.
It's some good game design. Granted, in that sphere, there's a lot less raw content than you get in other MMOs. Like, you get a single raid in World of Warcraft, you're going to have, upwards of like 7 bosses in that single go. But your content pipeline is much longer in between releases. The bosses sometimes are just really big guys. Sometimes there's not anything terribly unique about the robot you're going to fight. It might be some embiggened trash that you might be dealing with. So there is a more crafted quality that I'm enjoying in versing this. I am very curious to get to endgame and kind of see loot play into it. That would just be very rewarding. Right now, I don't have any like gems in my items. I'm not really concerned about my item level because I think I'm over it anyway because I have end game loot of that time, and then we're scaling it back down with minimum eye level. But it'll be really fun to eventually hit those extremes end game and say, all right, this week I'm showing up with 400 extra hit points. Let's see what this feels like. I've upped my deeps by, I have no frame of reference for what a number is of DPS, but that exact thing.
If you're playing legally, you should never have a frame of reference for how much damage you're doing.
Not true. You can go outside of Idleshire and you can go find a little dummy to go wail on.
Oh, I forget about.
There's a little cutscene too. It's great. There's this great little cutscene where they're like, people keep demanding for some reason some sort of tracking object. So we're gonna make a special dummy for you, loser, who needs to have this number that you keep asking about. Like it's real salty. It's a great little quest line.
You want to know that you're doing it right. All right. So we've done 3 extremes: Shinryu, Thordan, and now Tsukiyomi. Which one do you think was the hardest?
Hardest? I was least prepared for Shinryu. And I do think the final phase was properly echoed by us. That damage was way too high. I think maybe for my own skill. I was also struggling with my rotation at the time, so I was a little better last night. There were points where just it all fell apart, though. So,
yeah.
Tsukiyomi is 3rd on my list of enjoyment, but that's like they're all squeezed together at the top, so it's really not a good list in that way right now. You know, I got to add some more to that list before I actually have opinions that matter.
I think without the ad phase, I think Thordan might be my least favorite, but with the ad phase, I think Tsukiyomi's 3rd for me too.
Yeah.
For enjoyment, but difficulty, I'm splitting hairs between Tsukiyomi and Shinryu. They both seem extremely difficult.
Yeah, Shinryu had more room for failure.
There was, but it wasn't as individualized in what you had to do. Shinryu was a lot more of everybody kind of doing the same thing, speaking generally, whereas Tsukiyomi, there were so many individual actions that had to be pulled off, and then those individual actions were also randomized. So you really had to just be on your toes. So it's tough. It's tough. These are very good fights. If you're a nerd about MMO boss fights, you could do a lot worse than what Final Fantasy XIV has to offer with its extremes.
Yeah. The required player number too. Like there's so many factors that work into making something balanced and responsive and good. I do wonder how much damage, strong word, having the, what's an open queue? What's it called, World of Warcraft, when you show up with a random number of people and you just kind of do it? Like it's if you've got over 10, you're good to go.
A pug?
No. When you show up and it says, I'm sensing you have 23 people tonight. I will now scale it for you.
Oh, flex rating.
Flex rating, yeah. I think flex rating has been detrimental to the game, but I also understand like they are trying to get you a lot more people together, and there's just simply more variance in there than saying 8 people. Can we do this? Yes. 8 people is a large D&D party. You can organize that number of people.
Yeah. It's I'm enjoying it. I'm with you. I'm looking forward to doing some of these when we're current and when gear matters, and to see that progression. Did you know Final Fantasy XIV is a good game, Kyle?
I've heard as much.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's so easy to hyper focus on the MSQ because that's what you hear all about. Like the fact that this is functioning content that we could do today, last night, really, really good. I enjoyed my improvement through it. Like I'm getting better at the samurai. When stuff hits the wall, though, man, that rotation goes to hell because I have so many buttons that I'm trying to manage. And even watching my footage right now, I'm seeing some optimizations like, I could use third eye more. True North, was on cooldown during this part, so let me squeeze in a little bit more of that.
I think that's the kind of thing that would start to come together if we were playing this currently and going through the actual progression of like not learning a fight and downing it in the same night. If you're showing up multiple days over multiple weeks to eventually get a kill, you're going to really start to know these phases like the back of your hand. And that's when you're going to be not messing things up with your rotation optimization. And we're going in without looking stuff up and learning it as we go. And we're trying to get kills in one night. And, you know, we're more focused on doing the mechanics correctly because, my God, on Tsukiyomi, if you don't do them correctly, it's over.
Yeah, everybody, like one person can constantly kill everybody. And I'm thinking a lot about, an old raid that I did not enjoy called Zool. This was in Uldir, BFA. That was one where, one of 25 people could kind of ruin it for everybody, but it wasn't as interactive. The dance wasn't as refined, which I will admit, like, loses an organicness when you get to Final Fantasy XIV. Like, the boss fights you on a rhythm. The boss fights itself, right? There's very little, like, you're going to go in, at least in our experience, that you're going to go into a Final Fantasy Extreme raid and be like, how can we break this? Like, where could I pull the boss that, like, makes it go weird? Or could we use, like, a special off tank? It's like, no, you are here to do the dance. And if you don't want to dance, you're dead. There's not too much weird you can get involved in. Yeah, there's some, like, optimization, like, oh, you should have had a shield healer plus a damage healer and, like, that sort of thing. But it was a great time. I'm looking forward to more.
Yeah.
And I love game design. I think... I'm just fascinated by it. AZ Jackson, when we had them on Heroes of the Storm, now Diablo 4 game designer, when we had him back on the Into the Nexus show, they said something that really struck me, which it was super simple thought. He came from teaching karate, I believe. I'm not sure what kind or what discipline, but he said,
I think it was Taekwondo.
That would make sense. He said people want to be good at things. And it's a really simple thought, but you have to have that room for improvement. You have to give a game enough that it makes you go, why? What can I do? What is this game telling me? And I think Final Fantasy has the best MMO language I've ever seen.
It's a high bar.
It is. Yeah,
I don't really think about games like that, so I don't answer to that right now, but it's up there. It's good. It's solid. I do think it has button bloat. There's so many buttons in this damn game.
Which is weird when you say, majority or perhaps at least advertised a controller game. There are a lot of buttons, for sure.
Yes, there's a lot of, yes, but on the controller, there's a lot of toggling so that all of your buttons become other buttons.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of buttons. But oh boy, is there a lot of buttons in Final Fantasy XIV.
It's a great way to add complexity and difficulty, right? Like there is, some cheating could be accused of there, some tomfoolery by the developers being like, hey, you cheating on that skill ceiling? And they're like, yes, let's add another button. let's see how much we can push this.
Yeah. Anyway, you want to take some questions before we wrap this up?
Absolutely.
Hello there. Hello there. Hello there.
You can send your emails to feedback@startgrindinggear.com. And if you're supporting us on Patreon or a YouTube member, just drop us a message in our questions channel. Kit's going to start us off and say, hey, question for the podcast. What was your most memorable concert? Kit said for theirs, it was their older brother taking them to see Live's Secret Samadhi concert when I was 16. I am completely unfamiliar with Live. Or
Live
Live.
well.
Is it pronounced Live or Live?
I can't help you. But
yeah,
a cool concert's a cool concert after all.
Yeah.
So what's your answer?
Don't strike me as a concert goer.
Me? No. Yeah, no, I know. I enjoy like the like quiet night, get out the nice headphones, put on my music. I don't really want to be bothered by other people dancing around me and whatnot.
I've been to so many. I have so many concert memories. I'd like lived and breathed live music from right before I could drive until basically I ended college. And even then, Katie and I have been to a lot of concerts post-college. My gut goes to the Green Day American Idiot tour. I'm such a raging Green Day fan, and I was also young enough to dedicate the entire day to going to that concert. It was like the perfect thing. It was literally, I think, the last week of high school was the Florida date for me. So I'm literally about to be done with high school. American Idiot Tour comes through town. My Chemical Romance is opening. Like there's nothing. 2005 couldn't have been more perfectly encapsulated for me. Like my teenage years couldn't have been more perfectly encapsulated for me. So yeah, I went with I loaded up as many people as I could fit in my 1996 Honda Accord and putzed up to Tampa. Got there early, and I was just center up against the barricade for the whole damn concert. And then when we were leaving, we ran into all of My Chemical Romance in the parking lot and had a lovely conversation with them. I still have a pair of Chuck Taylors where the white toe is signed by MCR.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah. It was a really good show. And like for me, it also like kind of encapsulates like the generation I hail from. So it's like, I'll just never be a concert like that again. Never be a moment like that for me again. But honestly, the MCR concert I went to this past weekend was one of the best concerts I've ever been to. It was a really good show. Really good show. If you have a chance to go to this reunion tour they're doing right now, I highly recommend it.
I went to a former roommate, your childhood friend, actually, how we met. I went to a lot of their concerts in Chicago.
Oh, Brian.
Yeah.
Yes.
They did a lot of noise experiments. What was soundscaping?
Yeah, ambient.
Yes.
A lot of people would call it. And ambient music.
Those were chill. I enjoyed those. It was nice to kind of just like hang out, sit in a chair. The majority of like college local concerts I went to, because I went to Florida State, Tallahassee, it was a pretty big party town. All the band members just wanted to get real messed up, and if you weren't providing the messed up opportunities for them, they weren't really interested in talking to you at the end. So I was just kind of like,
messed up opportunities?
Oh, like, they want to get drunk. They want to go get sauced.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You're not part of that train.
There's a band some people might know. Maybe I probably shouldn't out them. Probably shouldn't out this band. But I had a group of friends that would always go when this band was in town to just like go and get like ripped high with this band. I don't know how they knew them, but they always showed up with illicit substances, and yeah, I was like, hey, y'all have fun. I'm good. Yeah. I was a good boy in high school. I was a very boring non-partier in high school, but yeah.
I like Rat-a-Tat. I saw them at the House of Blues. They broke up soon after that, I think.
No, they didn't.
They had a spat of some kind.
They put out like 5 more albums. They're still putting out albums,
yeah,
I think,
aren't they? Had a spat or something like right after that. Maybe they got back together.
Yeah, I still listen to Rat-a-Tat.
Just remember what I remember hearing, and then like I said, Bryan Adams acoustic. That was real good. So I'm a simple man.
Rat-a-Tat to Brian. You've got a widespread of taste, sir.
I do.
I commend you. I'd love to see Rat-a-Tat. I've never seen Rat-a-Tat. For the crowd's a little weird at Rat-a-Tat shows, though.
I don't remember them being weird. House of Blues is a pretty tame, on Disney property venue. Things keep pretty chill.
Honestly, the worst mosh pit injury I ever had was at the House of Blues in Orlando. Because it's a hard floor. You go down to that, it sucks. It sucks to go down on that floor. I literally collided skulls with a friend, and then we both went down and like got minorly stepped on, and I just got really bad, like really jacked my knee up. It was rough. But yeah, that's fair. Rat-a-tat. I'd like to see them. Now I want to go see Polyphia. They're like the Super Saiyan Rat-a-tat.
How you spell it?
I know you listen to them. Polyphia. Their big song is Goat. Kyle, for the audio listeners, Kyle is making a face that looks like pain while trying to spell.
Yeah, there was nothing I followed. I did not retain that spelling. I'll hit you up later.
Yeah. No, I had a lot of concerts I like. I've got all kinds of memories. I saw Taking Back Sunday play like a 2-hour show. That was the last concerts I saw before COVID hit. So that one will always be really special. Just a lot of good memories. Abovan wrote in and said, first off, stay safe. This was before the hurricane. Secondly, what's the worst natural weather disaster or event you've been a part of? This last one, this was by far the worst damn thing I've ever hunkered down through. Hurricane Ian was a monster storm. Did you ever have to go through a hurricane while you lived in Florida?
Hurricane Andrew was the one that was in town when I was 5.
Wait, you were in Florida when you were 5?
Yeah, I was in Florida from 4 to 8. I lived in Largo.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You lived in Largo?
Yeah, I was in Largo.
It's not even that far.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, no, dude, Andrew that's I think still to date, the worst loss of life of any hurricane that's hit Florida. I know there's a bad one in the 20s. I actually don't know. But yeah, dude, we went to the Keys that following year because that was the fall, right? So, and then the following summer, we went down to the Keys, and Homestead was still, the destruction was still there. Andrew was insane. It's a really early memory of mine. Andrew was real bad, like really bad. I didn't know you were around for that.
Yeah, I mean, I was properly lied to at the time, being 5. So I really had no idea what was going on. We had a lot of big windows. I don't believe they got boarded up. It was just real windy, and I got to stay home.
Yeah, I think that made landfall like right at the bottom of Florida, so it probably powered down by the time it made it to you.
Other than that,
Jeez.
I mean, New Mexico had its fair share of sandstorms, and one picked up my trampoline and threw it into my neighbor's yard.
Oh, that every time there's a hurricane, even like the less powerful ones, that's the first thing I look for is trampoline compilations on YouTube.
Yeah, they go
like
places.
The number one thing to go first is just trampolines. I saw a great viral post making around the Florida Facebook the other day of someone that had flipped their trampoline upside down, removed one of the feet, and then just drove their car on top of it and just parked it on top of the trampoline. And I was like, that's pretty smart. I haven't seen that one before. Yeah, we do all kinds of weird shit in Florida to keep our stuff safe during hurricanes. It's wild. We only boarded up a couple windows. We have one really big one in the front that we heard. I'm glad we boarded up. So many things hit that window. We just kept hearing it. Doom, 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 doom. And then we did the recording studio. As a matter of fact, it's still up. It's delightfully dark in here right now. I love it. Kind of don't want to take it down.
Kind of chill, yeah.
If I'm being honest, I kind of like it. I have full control over the light. I don't need to compensate for daylight that's coming through. It's great. It's great. Mythos Midnight is going to bring us home. Says, what's a trope or elements, that specific thing that will always get you to give an initial buy-in on a piece of entertainment, even though your brain might tell you it's probably going to be crap?
Cthulhu is probably my guilty pleasure.
Oh.
In that regard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I like the madness. There was actually there was a wonderful post going around Twitter the other day I got sent. And I thought it described it so well. And it was saying the problem with psychological Lovecraftian horror is that people don't represent it right. What they often show it as is a person sees something they shouldn't have, and now they're mad. But actually, the way you need to think about it is that you're an ant, and you crawl onto a circuit board. And I was an ant, you'd go, oh, this is foreign. You know, there's no tree. Well, there's no pebbles, you know, no little leaves, no tasty sugar piles. What a weird environment. But you wouldn't lose your mind. You just go, this is strange, but you're moving through it. No big deal. But for a brief moment, you view that circuit board as a human would, and you see all the little connections and little highways that this thing and what a chip is and all this. You see it for what it is and what it's capable of, just for a blip, and then it's gone. And madness is actually you pursuing that feeling again and trying to prove to everyone around you that this exists, that this circuit board is what it is to human beings. But oftentimes we reduce it down to video games like sanity meter. You saw a monster. Ah, blurry. Ah, go hide your head in a basket instead of what it actually is. And so I'm always fascinated with that pursuit of a sanity meter, no matter how like bad the game is. I'm curious to see how they did it. I remember Dark Corners of the Earth, a Bethesda game that came out on Xbox. Probably one of the best Cthulhuian? Lovecraftian horrors that's been made of that genre. Most of them are just bad, just oh no, some tentacles came out and now you're in the madhouse. Like, oh no, and the nurse is kind of weird. Like they're dumb.
But I liked that. Did you watch that? They did a one-off on HBO, Lovecraft Country. Did you watch that? It's a mini series.
Yeah.
It's one thing. It's a one and done. So you can you can consume the whole thing. I really liked it. I thought it was so different. It didn't really dive into the madness side of things though, so much as it dove into like the cultist side of things. And it was just, to me, it was just so different from anything I had watched that tried to screw around with Lovecraftian stuff. That Netflix Sabrina series also got into the Lovecraftian side of things in its final series or final season. And I don't think it did a particularly great job, but I just love the hammy nature of that show, so I still had fun.
Yeah.
But I think it wielded the Lovecraft side of things pretty shallow. But the Lovecraft Country is just, I've never seen a show like it. Even though it doesn't really pursue the madness side of things, I think it's a really unique show.
Well, look at the last World of Warcraft I got into, BFA. Like they dangled that. And they're like, oh, they literally dangled the fish. Like they were like, hey, check it out. It's going to get weird. You're going to go underground the faceless. The
more distance we get from BFA, the more I like it.
I agree.
I had a good enough time then playing it. And then and also a bit of a dig at Shadowlands, but also Shadowlands happened. And I was like, oh shit, BFA wasn't so bad. Like it really, I think BFA at the end of the day just came down to they didn't land the Sylvanas arc, and I wanted to throw that necklace in the fire like 5 minutes into playing that expansion. But
squeeze it into anything.
It has some of my favorite zones. I loved the faction war at the beginning. I thought was interesting, and the faction split for the zones was cool. There's some cool stuff. Everything they did with Jaina was neat. They were doing a good. I thought they did a good job writing Jaina. Again, it's all opinion, right? But
this goes back to my core. Like I was watching the real Ghostbusters growing up, and there's an episode called Collect Call from Cthulhu. They said it the whole episode. And they battle cultists, and eventually Cthulhu's summoned, and Cthulhu grabs a roller coaster, and they zap it, and it causes enough to disperse him. But man, I found that episode 3 years ago, and I was just glued to screen. I was like, oh my god, I remember this. I remember all this. I was watching this when I was like 3 and 4. Like this was formative to my love of the Cthulhu mythos and exploration. I love my board games that got based on it, the Arkham Horrors. I love when it's a great sprinkling. It's almost better as a sprinkling. Like even the tons of cartoons kind of like mess with it, like Gravity Falls and all that, and Adventure Time. But the Tangled series actually did it. And it did it okay. The problem with the animated Tangled series is that they called their kingdom Corona. So when the show came out, we had like 6 months, and then you're trying to watch it, and every time they're like, we got to save the kingdom of Corona. You're kind of like, oh, I don't, I'm not having fun at the moment. I don't want to hear about this. So I kind of fell off it.
Well, Archer, their thing used to be called ISIS. So
yeah. So, time sometimes, messes with things you've seen from time to time.
Things happen.
Yeah.
Things happen. Yeah. Well,
but what about for you?
Coming. Oh, oh yeah, I didn't answer. Anything vaguely goth and creepy. Anything that vaguely reminds me of Nightmare Before Christmas will get me to watch the thing. I watched that god awful live action Alice in Wonderland because of that. I was like, oh, it looks vaguely Hot Topic-y. I'll give this a watch. That movie's terrible. Holy crap. Oh my god. That live action Alice in Wonderland is a bad movie.
You're talking about the Johnny Depp one, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that is. I haven't seen everything Johnny Depp has done,
Yeah.
I never thought I would see something where I thought Johnny Depp did a worse job than Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
I had so
but oh
much
boy, they found a way.
Helena Bonham Carter burnout at that point. I was just so done with.
I've never gotten burnout on Carter. I like her, but that whole movie, that movie does no one in it a service. Nobody comes out of that movie unscathed.
Yeah, it was so weird because there were moments where I felt it reminded me a lot of the most recent Star Wars movies where there's a moment where you're like, oh, it's about to be good, everybody. Oh, and then the Jabberwocky shows up and it's voiced by Christopher Lee, and you're like, oh shit, like the Jabberwocky's here. Oh my god, it's gonna be awesome. The tea time shows up, you're like, oh god, I love this scene. But just always right back in the trash.
Yeah. I would say too, I would just say stop motion, but usually stop motion's good because there's not that many companies that make it, and one of them is Leica, and I don't really think Leica's made a bad movie.
Oh, Leica stop motion. What?
Leica just keeps making bangers. Paranorman is freaking god tier. So I have a deep love of stop motion.
What's the one with the samurai sword they did? There's like a monkey.
Something in the two strings. I can't remember the name. Someone in chat's gonna beat me to it. Kubo in the two strings.
Kubo, yeah. I did not care about Missing Link. That wasn't really my jam. But Box Trolls was super cute. Paranorman was pretty cool. Kubo.
Paranorman has become an annual watch for me. I love Paranorman.
Have you seen Frankenweenie?
I have. Frankenweenie's great.
It's cute.
It's good. It's freaking good. I don't love Corpse Bride as much as everyone else does. My favorite part is just anytime Christopher Lee's priest is on screen. He's the best part of that movie.
Yeah, Corpse Bride. Same with Caroline, the Button Eyes one.
Oh no, I will fight you on that. Coraline's great.
No,
I love Coraline.
I was bored.
Oh, what? Oh, dude, Coraline's freaking awesome.
I like Box Trolls.
You don't do well with abusive parents though, and stuff.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's
Coraline's
fair.
a big abusive parent movie.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, well, you're a dad. I get it. I love Coraline. I'd say
Monster House. That was fun too.
Yes, not stop motion. It's 3D.
Oh,
but
really?
they did a limited frame rate to make it look stop motion.
Ah, like the Lego.
Yeah,
movies.
Monster House is great. What is it? I think they do 13 frames a second for stop motion.
This was honestly not stop motion. I could have sworn it was back in the day. Oh no, yeah, you're
Nope,
right. This
3D.
is in my
It's
memory. 3D. In my memory, it's very but yeah, this is 100% computerized. Yeah, but it has kind of a clay look to it.
What is stop motion? It looks like there's not a go-to for stop motion, at least not that I can quickly find via Google. But anyway, yeah, no, Monster House is great. That's a Robert Zemeckis. That's why that movie's good, because Robert Zemeckis freaking made it. Dude, what made Back to the Future?
Oh, I thought it was it Spielberg produced or something? I remember Spielberg being involved.
Well, Zemeckis has had Spielberg's blessing since Back to the Future.
Okay. Yeah,
because that was the day where it was like Steven Spielberg presents, because he also did that with Gremlins. He had nothing to do with Gremlins, but he kind of like gave it his blessing.
Executive producer, yeah, and Animaniacs and all that sort of thing, yeah. It was a nice return to form to like messed up kids movies where I was like, yeah, again, like the ET sort of jokes we were making.
Yeah, you're like, dude, there's no universe where I watch like a vague horror romance, but because it was like Victorian Gothic, that one with Loki. What was that? It was a Guillermo del Toro movie. Oh my god, why am I blanking on this?
The Loki actor?
Yeah, Tom Hiddleston. Oh my god, I'm surprised no one in chat has beaten me to this. Just going through all of Guillermo del Toro's stuff here. Oh, oh my god, we're getting him on filmography.
Oh,
Crimson Peak.
Oh yeah,
Crimson Peak. I would have never watched that movie if it wasn't for this looks like goth and creepy. I'm gonna watch this. I never watched that movie in any other scenario.
It was super weak.
I liked it. I thought it was fun enough. But you're right. Like I'm not gonna go to bat for it. It is an average movie. That is a mid-ass movie. But because it's like creepy and has like the that kind of vague Victorian goth aesthetic, I watched the living crap out of that movie.
I mean, I love bad movies too. Like there are those like Bram Stoker's Dracula with everybody, with Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder and Gary Oldman. Yeah.
I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna say something vaguely sacrilegious here and say I've seen all the Crow movies. I don't think any of them are all that good, including I don't think the original Crow is that good of a movie, but I've watched it because of the creepy goth cred.
It was in my like D&D planning rotation for a while. It fell off. It was okay. It's okay.
It's a great costume. It's a fantastic soundtrack, and Brandon Lee is an absolute legend. But it's just kind of an okay script.
It was one of those
pretty straightforward movie.
It got to me before I started finding more classic movies. Like I was working my way back in time. Like you're kid, you're watching modern stuff, and then your parents and others are like, "Hey, watch Back to the Future," and Jurassic Park comes out, but that's new for you. So Back to the Future, and you start going back in time, like, oh, there's more than one Indiana Jones. And The Crow was kind of in that phase before I was like, wait, I can go even further back and find better movies.
Yeah. Well, no, chat's asking how you feel about the Blade movies. I love the Blade movies. I really like the first one the most. The third one, I know is like everyone hates it, but I was the right age to be like, Ryan Reynolds funny in it, and I still like Blade, so let's go. At the time I enjoyed 3. I don't revisit it, but
yeah, it's got some hilarious moments, marred by some bizarre production issues for sure. Yeah. The second they go computerized in 1 is when I just want to turn it off. That is not aged. The blood god stuff and onward is just real bad.
Yeah,
but I like the light shining on the weird big one down in the cellar, and there's a lot of really fun ideas in Blade. And they just ruined it bringing Wesker. What's his name? Wesker? Whistler back. And the guy's like, hey, I don't remember if it was on his tongue or if it was under his eye or whatever, but he was like, I'm with them, blah. And you're like, dude, come on. Like the random stoners, a vampire spawn servant thing. Like, oh. I
was more of an Underworld guy, if I'm being honest, because that was more like, hot topic aesthetic.
Yeah, Underworld's fun. So. I like Bill Nighy.
Oh, yeah, he's great in that. But yeah, that's it. Basically, I'll watch anything Guillermo del Toro, Tim Burton makes, even though I haven't liked a Tim Burton thing in a very long time. That new Addams Family show looks good, though. I'm going to watch that. That looks all right.
That could be fun. The Wednesday, right? It's all based around Wednesday.
Yeah, I will watch the crap out of that. So, actually, I think the last Tim Burton thing I truly loved, honestly, I think it was Frankenweenie, because that came out after, but I was thinking Sweeney Todd. I really like Sweeney Todd.
Oh, there's a lot of real bad singing in that.
You're a theater kid. I'm not. I don't care. I love that movie. I love the way that movie looks.
It's still better than Les Mis done with Gladiator Man.
Never watched it.
Yeah.
Never watched it.
I don't know. Hugh Jackman's out there giving his all, so I some points in there for him.
Soon we'll get to do a trailer park for Deadpool 3. And we'll get to talk about Hugh Jackman.
That was a cute little announcement. Russell Crowe. Yeah, Russell Crowe could not sing, sadly.
He's in the new Thor, and it's actually probably the best part of the movie.
Okay, I liked him in that Mummy movie where he was.
You watched that piece of crap?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's got the Mummy on it. I love the Mummy with Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, but it's not. It's not with Brendan Fraser. No. It's with Tom Cruise.
Yeah, Tom Cruise, and this is Tom Cruise enjoying.
It killed the cinematic universe before it even started. That's how bad that movie was.
Oh, that's fuel for the fire. It was dead on arrival. Whether or not there was additional plans, it was a bad idea.
Oh, they were so ready to go, and then that movie came out and just flamed.
But the Mummy lady did great. She was really solid in it. Tom Cruise did all right. Like there was moments.
Yeah. Well, watch Top Gun. It's coming out soon. Let me know what you think, because I loved it. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of Grinding Gear. Thanks again to our wonderful patrons supporting us over at supportourbromance.com. Kyle, you got a little something? You got a little something there? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So we got some patrons to thank this week. We want to thank everyone who signed up since last episode, starting with Kaylin A. Thank you very much.
I'm mixing the music right now, and I'm just grooving. So I'm going to thank Paul M.,
I'm going to follow that up by thanking Lyrithus. Thank you very much for liking our stuff enough to support it.
Colin P, thank you very much.
Rob, no last name given, just Rob. Thanks, Rob. I'm going to assume it's a robot.
Oh, I've got the rough one. Faticulius. Faticulius.
Faticulus is what I would go with.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what I'd go with. Thank you very much. And Sean B, our latest legendary level supporter. Ooh. But Kyle, we've got to come up with something here because we now have 2 Sean B's.
Oh no!
In the legendary level. So Sean B, I'm going to refer to you as Sean with an EA-B.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
And if you have a better suggestion, I invite you. Let me know. So thank you to all of our legendary level backers. Original Sean B, Mike R, Stephen J, Dagny, Wayra E, Das, Cheesy Bob, and now featuring Sean with an EA B. Thank you very much, everybody, for the support. If you want to follow us, we're on social media. We're on Twitter. I'm Garrett Art. He's Kyle Ferguson. And we have a joint account for the shows and all of our productions at Garrett and Kyle. Other than that, find this show live streamed on our YouTube channel over at youtube.com/amovetv, as well as our weekly releases and our other weekly streams. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. And again, thanks for all the well wishes while I was hunkered down for that storm. And until next time, GG.
Take care.